right now. He was the second voice behind Sword Art on this team, and with all that being said, Suning are the ones to instantly take away the Akali in the drafting phase, with Angel looking completely unfazed here.
Yeah, also interesting that RNG are going to pay a lot of respect to Bin, which makes sense. We see Xiaohu laughing on the screen right now. I think he knows where he should stand in terms of the 1v1 lane. Xiaohu, an exceptional laner. He is playing a new lane for, you know, the first time in his career, so it is going to be not the easiest climb up the mountain for him in terms of this one.
And it definitely looks like he's just angling himself for probably something like the Gnar or the Ornn, something that he can get away blind pick now that they are on the blue side. And Xiaohu seems like he definitely seems a little bit phased right here. He seems like, you know what, I'm just gonna take it. I hope my team can carry me through the finishing line. And we are gonna see RNG gonna go for Kai'Sa for Gala, a very good hyper carry player on the likes of Gala. He's carried his team 30+% damage on whatever team he's been on, and really a good shoe-in for someone like Uzi, and Uzi himself has been quite impressed with this new youngster.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see where Suning go with this one. Typically, you do see jungle and then typically one rotation of your bot laners done in the first phase. You would have kind of expected it to be something like the Samira, and you just go that route. It is typically the handshake we see, where Samira has more pressure early on. People are more afraid of Kai'Sa as she scales up. But instead, Suning just going straight for this Aatrox. Of course, we saw Zoom's Aatrox earlier on in the day. This champion can do quite a lot. It does have a few, not necessarily problematic matchups, but things that are slightly edged in the other direction. And then SofM going back to his Olaf. It is one of the picks that he's brought out many times throughout his career. You know, been very innovative with it at different points. So thus far, I'm liking the emphasis on priority picks on both sides.
RNG definitely going for something more combo oriented. They have the pick potential, they have the semi-globals on the likes of Kai'Sa and Pantheon, while also just shoring up a great control mage. On the other hand, for Suning's draft, I feel like this is a bit of a disrespect to Xiaohu. You don't just get the blind pick Aatrox in this one. I hope Xiaohu has something that he can potentially punish the likes of the Aatrox, or else, you know, Suning kind of just gets away with murder on the draft, getting to counterpick both of their solo lanes. And we are going to see the bans away on the likes of the support. Ming has been showing up big on the likes of Alistar and the likes of Gragas. Both of those are off the table, and they're likely to continue just making sure that Kai'Sa does not have a good laning phase here.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what Suning actually go for, because obviously we typically see the Aphelios put with the Thresh from the fact that he's the Lantern, and, you know, helps the fact that Aphelios is very immobile. I think other things that can peel and disengage for the Aphelios is usually the way you'd want to go, but I mean, Gragas has been banned out by yourself. You have things like Galio and Maokai, which kind of play that role, but I think blind picking either of those is a bit rough. They don't really just go into anything, so I actually don't know where On is going to go with the support pick.
We have seen some teams flash around the Tahm Kench, but not really a high priority in this meta whatsoever. RNG are going to be the ones banning away Angel's Twisted Fate, one of his best champions. Is going to put Angel onto the Victor, which he's already found 2 victories on. And it does look like Suning are shaping up for a very tried and true double carry, front to back sort of style, or maybe they could go into a 4-1. While on the other hand, RNG is going to opt for more engage, doubling down on the potential catch that they can output with the likes of Pantheon.
I honestly think if you're Suning here, you could just go Galio. Your composition is so good against what RNG picked up in them just running into you. You have so much zone control coming out from Victor. Aphelios loves when the comp runs into him. Once again, you're getting in melee range of a champion like Aatrox, which we saw earlier. So I feel like Galio definitely is the best champ to round this out. You have a very easy time in the Leona lane. You give priority and can, you know, get off good reset timings and good roams. So Suning just going to lock that one in.
Lyric, you are a goddamn prophet. Very well called out there. Galio is going to be the one rounding out the comp, but I want you to take a look at that rise.
I don't want to look at it, Clement. I don't want to look at it. I don't really know where RNG is going with this one. They draft this 4-man squad that all wants to run in. Like, they said that from their first 3 picks. Suning read it beautifully. And now you're drafting this Rise. Not a champion really see played in solo queue. Not a champion we've obviously seen in LPL at all. And it changes the dynamic of your comp completely with, again, having, I guess, more of a side lane threat, being able to play out in that way. But I'm not going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you, Clement. I don't really understand the pick. I guess we're going to all learn and see how this does, but I don't have a lot of faith in it. I like Suning's draft quite a bit.
Yeah, and you can see Suning's coaches definitely have a laugh at that one. Rise, we haven't seen him for the entire split. Xiaohu looks a little bit nervous, but this is the champion of his choice. He has done great things on the Rise. I would say that he's probably been the best Rise player outside of Doinby that we have in the LPL. But once again, he is going against the meta. Rise a very slow champion pick. In these days, you don't get that much mana from the tier anymore, and he's just been completely absent from the scene.
Again, he's just a champion that is a very slow starter, like you just said, and a big problem with him that a lot of people felt even last year was you struggle so much in especially those first few waves. You're pretty much able to get a cheater recall against him as the enemy laner in so many matchups. So again, I'm interested to see what RNG's idea of the Rise is in this comp and how they're gonna play around with it. And the fact that Xiaohu is playing a mid lane champion top throws me back to 2019 Suning in V5. I'm all in.
This is pretty interesting because the Orianna is actually going to be picked up by Xiaohu, and Crying is going to be the one taking the Rise. So are we going to be seeing the first top lane Orianna? Oh my god, we're going to be seeing the first top lane Orianna.
I mean, right, you ranged against melee, he should be able to have pressure, but it's going to be a very delicate matchup. If Aatrox ever gets in there with, you know, like his E into W, Xiaohu will potentially have to flash. Speaking of blown summoners, Huangfeng did have to blow his cleanse, so at least a small win for the side of RNG.
Great catch onto that one. Now we're going to take a look at the runes right here. Aatrox going for the Electrocute. I'm going to leave that one for you to explain. And judging from the rest of it, it is going to be a more aggressive setup with the Hail of Blades on the Kai'Sa. So what do you think about this top lane matchup? How do you think it's going to pan out?
I definitely think it's the right choice from Bin, right? This isn't going to be some like long extended trading that you need the Conqueror for. This is going to be about those short bursts that you can get onto Aatrox against the Orianna. So it's going to give you more kill pressure in that 1v1. Going to be a lot more about short trades for you. Xiaohu, of course, with the phase rush just makes sense because as we set up earlier, if Aatrox can get on top of you, you are just dead. You definitely need that movement speed coming out from the phase rush.
It feels kind of weird, but looking at these two lanes in the Orianna and Rise, I don't feel like there's much that RNG can actually do on their top side. It feels very pressured, it feels very, very slow and sluggish. So, unlike our predictions, it does seem like RNG are actually kind of just giving up on the top side. I think SofM is probably going to have his way in this entire matchup. Taking a short look at the bottom side, small trade coming in, Justice Punch does land, but the trade just does end right there. How do you think Wei is going to path around this map? Because it doesn't seem like he actually has that many options.
I don't think Wei realistically has any options. You look at Xiaohu's matchup, right? He should push in his wave consistently. Bin will only look for timings on the bounce back and look for these all-ins. We do see Wei heading up now, so maybe they think they can set up some kind of early dive. They are slow pushing onto the bot lane. The Ignite is down, but he's still alive. 100 and about 50 HP still left onto the champion, so he's going to do fine. But meanwhile, on the top side, this is going to become a 3v1 dive as the play develops. Bin is being forced out of the top lane, but I don't think he necessarily dies right here. Is able to walk away from this one. But like we were mentioning in the pregame, RNG is all about that top side these days, and Xiaohu is going to benefit from the play. Yeah, really interesting that they pick these, again, champions that we were calling slower. They still have range versus melee advantage in top side. They use that to stack up a big wave, zone Bin out from the tower, and try to find some kind of advantage. At least they do have a TP advantage, but I don't know if this is a realistic way for RNG to find big enough advantages throughout the game to turn this into a win.
Very cheeky steal attempt there from Gala. Tries to get the scuttle. However, SofM is going to secure that one. And I think it's about time for some payback as SofM does head towards the top lane. Not a lot that Xiaohu can do if he is tagged by the Undertow. So I'm assuming that's just going to put a lot of pressure on Wei to try to cover his lanes.
And another interesting thing about the matchups we have on the map, right, is that Angel should consistently win trades up against Cryin. Cryin will at least be able to try to attack Angel's mana pool as we've seen him doing, but now that Angel's backing up the tier, that will be much harder. One interesting change we can talk about with Rise is the fact that Seraph's Embrace was changed, right? It doesn't give the shield anymore. Now it just increases your maximum mana, which of course goes really well with Ryze's passive of converting mana to AP, so there's at least some like interesting like theory behind the Ryze, but we definitely need to see some practical execution of it first.
SofM goes in with the Ghost, does tag onto Xiaohu. Xiaohu still has the flash, so he will be able to get away from this one. However, the laning phase is just going to become more difficult from here on out, as we do see the entire wave crashing in, likely to force the teleport coming in from Xiaohu to pick up this one. And once again, you know, just harping on that top lane difference, it is going to be a rough welcoming for Xiaohu to finally meet a top laner of the top of LPL.
Yeah, this is where it's going to be rough for Xiaohu, because now you're going to be pushing your wave. Your wave's already on the bounce back, so you know it's going to go into Bin's tower at some point. But you don't have flash. Bin definitely will win the all-ins. He's already buying a null magic mantle, so just kind of indexing even more for the 1v1 against Xiaohu. Once that lane pushes out, if Xiaohu can land the W, I mean, if Bin can land the W, I'm sorry, I think Xiaohu's potentially just dead.
We will be on the lookout for that 1v1. In the meantime, I do want to mention that this is something we haven't really seen from Olaf. We know it's very popular in solo queue to bring the likes of Ghost as a summoner. But why do you think SofM is indexing into this one? I'm sorry, I have to cut you off right there. On is going to go in with the Justice Punch. Does find Ming, burns the flash right there. Exhaust goes down onto Gala, and there's just no hope for Gala. He's going to get stuck here. He's going to give up his life, but he does hold on to his summoner. So very calm, cool, collected play right there.
Still great pick for Suning, and they could transition this potentially into a dragon, because RNG are in their topside jungle, and Suning do know that. So we see SofM going on to Drake right away, and the question about Ghost, I think, is a good one. I think SofM should have a really good time running down any member of RNG. They are so squishy, they don't have good ways of locking down this Ragnarok, but Bin's
Bin
getting caught
is getting targeted on. The Rune Prison does go down, however, Bin uses his flash, gets out, gets the Q2 knockup. And once again, we're going to see RNG very unorthodoxly trading their top side for the bottom side, trading their bot side for the bottom side, excuse me, and just trying to keep Xiaohu afloat in this lane. We do see some help coming in from Suning as they do roam on up towards the top, so this is going to be a 2v2 if Wei wants to try his chances. But great ward coming in from RNG as well. They definitely anticipate the rotations. They have the ping to see it. SofM is going to find Wei, and there's nothing I think this Pantheon can do except for just use the flash. In fact, SofM is not going to spend any of his time on Xiaohu whatsoever. He just goes forward, but Xiaohu, cleverly on his side, holds on to his ultimate. So nothing really lost there on the side of RNG. They all get away.
And RNG had to make that play around top side. We had earlier talked about Xiaohu's wave pushing back into the side of Suning, so Wei had to be there for that timing to make sure that he didn't go down. Unfortunately, it makes them lose Dragon, but on the side of RNG, we're having that classic trade of RNG trying to snowball gold across the map, while Suning trying to set up for dragons. The problem for RNG in this is that Suning aren't actually falling behind in terms of gold.
Definitely seems to be the case. They did claw back in the gold column with that overchase on the side of Suning. They ran two members up, couldn't find any of the picks right there, and that does give a little bit more farming time to the likes of RNG, who are now equal despite the kill difference. Looking at the map, we are seeing something that's pretty interesting and really common in patch 11.1. It is the buffed Boots of Lucidity that we see being picked up here by Crying. A lot of mid laners actually just going for the extra ability haste on this one. How do you feel about this one compared to the likes of maybe the Merc Treads or the Sword Boots?
I think it's really interesting, even watching, you know, like the likes of what mid laners are doing in LCK, what LPL mid laners are doing in solo queue. You're seeing a lot of Victors doing it, seeing some Orianas, some Syndras. A lot of people are picking up. Of course, almost all supports are buying them as well. So just valuing the extra cooldown when the meta is filled with so many champions that have low cooldown abilities, and just being able to spam those off cooldown. I think Gragas has been an example we've harped on all day with, like, as a good example.
Yeah, that ability haste buffed up to 20% in this patch does allow you to get your ultimate back up a lot sooner, so probably does help a lot in those pick situations where you do have to rely on that one. We did see an incursion coming in from SofM onto the bot side. They are able to walk away from this, and this ward has just been pure value for RNG. They've already caught the rotation from Anne, and now they're going to catch the rotation coming in from SofM once more, so Xiaohu really should not be dying to this.
The thing though is, Dip Suning do have more members on the top side of the map, so potentially could even look to start up a Herald. I doubt they would for the reason that RNG's bot lane is going to get a better reset. But, you know, with LPL teams, the fact that options are always there just because they're not the best idea doesn't really stop us from doing them.
Hey, this league is all about execution, okay? So don't you talk bad about my boys. They do what they please on the Rift.
Hey, I love it too. Like I said, nonsensical bloodshed is why we are all here, Clement Chu, but a slower paced game. I'm going to be interested to see how it pans out because you have scaling elements on both sides. Obviously, we have Aphelios and Victor on one hand, but Ryze, Kai'Sa, and Orianna on the other. I even feel like Pantheon scaling now isn't too bad. 30% armor pen is actually, I think, pretty undervalued. It's actually like pretty insane to have just for free, so... But I still think the formation of Suning's teamfight later on will be better, where their comp just does so much better when when the enemy champions need to come into them. Ryze isn't really a high-range champion. He's gonna have to get in range of Aphelios and Victor's abilities. Orianna still fits in that same suit as well.
And on the map right now, we do see a very good timing window from RNG, taking away the Herald while there is a blue handoff on the side of Suning. They're not going to trade anything away for this one, just pure profit on their side. And we do have to take a look at Xiaohu. Those top lane dives have been making a difference. He's up almost 30 CS against the likes of Bin. And if you put someone that far behind in the CS column, it doesn't matter how good mechanically they are. They're not going to be able to challenge.
And with how well he's been doing in the lane, with all the help he's gotten, of course they're going to drop the Herald here to be able to finish this one off. We've had Cryin consistently hovering towards the top side as well, just in case he needs to like pop an ultimate and get over there quickly. So now we're going to see what RNG's lane assignment is going to be, because, okay, Xiaohu is very far ahead, but you still, as an Orianna, wouldn't really want to sit in a long lane against an Aatrox. He's realistically only going to do it if Wei keeps shadowing for him. And I guess if you are RNG's bot lane, you've just been straight chilling this whole game. You don't really need the jungle attention. You can just keep Wei with Xiaohu playing through that side lane.
So very interesting choices right here. It seems like they're going to have to decide who draws the short straw on RNG's side and actually go up to the top lane to kind of face Bin. However, in the meantime, Suning are going to use this opportunity where they saw double members pushing on their top side. They're going to equalize that out with the double Drake. And with the formations you're talking about, I do feel like Suning have the better 5v5 composition. They do have a more traditional frontline aspect in their composition. How do you think RNG is going to be able to break apart into that river?
I think RNG are going to need to keep doing what they've been doing and kind of finding picks with the Pantheon and playing through like sides, playing through tempo. The one good thing about Ryze, right, is that ultimately he will always be able to move first, so theoretically you could get numbers advantage at certain times, pick off one member of Suning and convert that into like river control into an objective, so that's probably what we'll keep seeing. And I just have the feeling if we do get to a point where it's going to be about 5v5s, RNG will really struggle. I mean, you would need some kind of play of like Wei flashing in onto like Huangfeng with Gala jumping in with his ultimate and pretty much instantly deleting him, but that doesn't sound too realistic when you have Galio peeling for you, when you have Victor Gravity Field there as well.
Angel gonna find some damage, pops a Chaos Storm just to force Wei away from the play, and they hold on to control for this river. A little bit early for the ward contest, but Suning looks like they don't want to give up any ground concerning their Drake stack. And SofM actually taking away the Big Raptor 1v2, just showing his prowess and laying it on the table. He's the boss of the bottom side.
I mean, he's like been ahead of Wei this whole game consistently so far as a level up. Of course, we've seen Wei affect lanes a lot more, which is the dynamic we expected on E-Star. Wei was like a gank-heavy jungler, would gank bot at level 2 or 3 every single game. SofM always been a bit more about himself in his own matchup, which, again, in 2020, 2021 is great. That is the way the game is played, but it is interesting to see how these dynamics kind of coincide as Xiaohu still just split pushing on Orianna.
I think he might have overstayed his welcome as 3 members of Suning are rushing up towards him. Xiaohu still does have the flash. It's all about how much time he can actually waste on this Suning roster. He does walk away from the umbral chains, but he is tagged by the undertow. I'm sorry, Xiaohu, there's really nowhere for you to go, and he can't find the tower in the top lane. I have to say I love the way Suning are playing this because they are pretty much disregarding Xiaohu's push in the top side until they're sure he can't get away with anything.
It's really interesting because Suning in all 3 of their games now have picked these sort of comps that are really good against a lot of traditional LPL teams that just want to come into you. Where again, you have so much zoning threat, you have so much like good damage in short range and choke points where you can be quote unquote more reactive and still win out in most situations.
Now, I love the picks like the Victor that they've been using, but we have a skirmish happening right now. RNG actually fighting the 2v3, but they do have help with Xiaohu incoming. They do find the first kill. On is stuck among 5 members, and that was the pick we were talking about. That was the pick that was going to open up the river to RNG. Perfect play right there. It really did started with SofM walking over those 2 wards, not even catching out the pink. Great anchor from Xiaohu. He's able to cut off the retreat, and that's the composition strength that we were talking about. Just the pick potential incoming from the likes of Crying and the double teleport from Xiaohu too.
I can just understand as SofM that you wouldn't expect that to happen. You're walking in and suddenly like Orianna and Ryze just show up for pretty much no reason. We're not fighting for anything. So I think SofM just getting caught a bit off guard, but hey, those are the more creative plays that RNG need to make if they do want to come out ahead in this game. We do finally start having mythic items on all sides. Kind of hilariously, we have the same 3 mythic items on both sides, you know, being built: Kraken Slayers, Luden's Tempest, and the Gore Drinkers.
Definitely what we've used to seeing right here. Ming is caught out. They're turning a bit of damage. Xiaohu is in position as On comes down. Another undertow comes down. The teleport is in, and it looks like they're focusing onto Wei. Wei flashes out. Ming is still alive, but not for long as he goes down. And a great play by Gala actually finds a trade back. Xiaohu flashes very aggressively forward, trying to find the kill onto Angel. That is not going to suffice. And we're talking about a really good setup for RNG to actually stop the Drake stacking incoming from Suning. They have a lot of low members. Angel is close to being dead, and he has to find the teleport back to the scene. In the meantime, RNG are going to benefit, and they're going to take the mid lane tower off of a fight that Suning started.
Yeah, now RNG do at least have vision control of bot side river with Dragon coming up in 15 seconds. That was a really nice ultimate coming out from Xiaohu as well, and I want to see now if RNG will be able to manage range against Suning's comp. Again, I feel like the primary carries of Suning do outrange their RNG counterparts, but you at least have positions like that where you can punish members like Finn, SofM, and On.
Yep, 1100 on the likes of the Death Ray, and I think it's 600 onto the likes of Aphelios, so definitely they have a lot of range advantage when it comes to the 5v5 team fight. And this is a pretty interesting play. Suning are saying that, hey, we gave up the Drake, but we know you want the 5v5s. We're going to start the Herald immediately and goad your team composition into our trap. It looks like RNG are having none of it. They're repeating the question marks, but the one thing they aren't doing is setting foot in River.
Yep, so still just going to be a bit of a split map that we've been seeing a lot throughout this game. Of course, early on, both teams were playing a bit around top side, but Suning quickly gave up on that, realizing, hey, RNG are throwing all their resources into this. Now, RNG getting Drake, Suning gonna get Herald. Suning, I don't think, have a, like, obvious place where to drop this one. They still do, theoretically, in my opinion, benefit from having longer side lanes with the fact that Bin should get into this game at some point. The problem is that Bin has been set so far behind. I feel like we are way off from that point, so maybe benefiting more from just, at some point, trying to find the tempo to group mid and 5-man push that tower.
This is such a wonky game, because I think RNG are benefiting off the fact that no one expects you to 3-man die for an Orianna. If Orianna gets fed, she's not going to automatically win her lane. She's still range versus melee, bruiser, and when it comes to the mid game, like you said so many times, Bin is going to win this matchup out at some point. So it's an incredibly interesting early game that RNG have been able to play, able to snowball. But the question really is, when does reality hit, and when do these matchups kind of reset back to their natural state and you see these champions doing what they're supposed to do? I'm just questioning how far RNG can even like keep this going. They're trying to fight around vision. They're doing a great job at forcing SofM to walk over a ton of wards. But there is going to come a time where I feel like Suning are going to be able to turtle up and just wait and play for the team fights. Do you think that's the case? Is that your read?
Yeah, I think Suning definitely can just keep playing this one slow. I mean, you're 4K gold behind, but I feel like the more the map opens up, the less options RNG has. You're not at any point close to threatening like Soul Point. I guess you could potentially bait a Baron, but they don't really have a great frontliner to like look for a turn. You only have your Leona, so RNG now, I think it's about just pushing your lanes in, controlling vision, and hoping like Suning are caught in the kind of like crossroads of moving between waves.
On the RNG roster, not at all range on these champions. They certainly are not going to be threatening these inner towers. They do have a very comfortable gold lead, but as you mentioned, still very far away from those critical objective stacks like the Dragon Soul that we were talking about. So I guess the game is just going to be a lull for now, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for Suning to kind of farm and scale into those teamfight phases around the Baron, around the Dragon Soul like we were talking about. So I'm sorry, LPL fans, this game is going to be a little bit slow. There's not going to be enough blood going on for you to keep you completely awake through this one, but please bear with us. There is going to be a massive explosion that comes at the end of this.
The one thing that is interesting is that Gala is
Whoa.
Oh, okay, RNG.
Okay. That was a very early Baron play being called before the 21-minute mark, and they're going to get away with this. There's no one on the Baron. Suning are not reacting to this whatsoever.
I love it, Clement. You don't need to have like great Baron turn potential when the enemy doesn't know. We said in our last series, all the top teams would force us in the LPL. 20-minute hits, you think, okay, my enemy's a moron. They don't think I'm going to do Baron. Me doing Baron would be absolutely insane. But I am insane, and they go for it.
Oh, definitely an unexpected play coming out right there. It would have been disastrous if RNG were caught out, but they're willing to chance the very early Baron with almost no front line, and they get away completely scot-free on that one.
I love it.
So walk me through, how is this going to change the meta, the matchup right now, though?
I feel like for RNG, you at least now have the potential pressure to... We've already seen them consistently pushing in sides. You can now push in sides, you know, all group up to one lane, and now at least with Baron, you should at least have the siege potential to start threatening to knock down towers. So that's definitely good. They will also be able to easily take this free Drake. I don't know if they can actually dive the likes of Suning's comp, so I still question if they'll really be able to break into Suning's space, but they should at least be able to keep snowballing gold.
Okay, we can't keep our fans waiting for long. There is going to be a team fight in the middle lane right here as SofM goes down incredibly low. Wei does find the final tick onto that. The Shockwave does go down onto On, but he is able to walk away with that one. And once again, RNG are transferring their priority into these picks across the map as they have total control over Suning's jungle.
And it's just like we said, right? That RNG would have to find a pick from one of the members of Suning, kind of like traversing their jungle, walking back and forth to catch the waves that RNG are pushing. RNG find that opportunity, now they're just pushing in both side waves, and they should feel pretty good. I don't think Suning can realistically look to engage on them, but RNG's still gonna play it safe and just back off and take the free dragon.
I love the way that they used that Drake to kind of bait out the picks right there. They had full vision control. They knew someone would have to check sooner or later, and it was SofM that was caught out in the end. I guess the question right now is, when can Suning actually turn these team fights back? Because they've lost priority, incredibly large amounts of priority here, and just looking at this team fight, it doesn't seem like there was much that they could do.
Yeah, with the fact that we are at a 6k gold lead, I still think this gives it gives RNG the room to push out the lanes, take enemy camps, find picks if Suning are in their jungle. But right, their composition still doesn't have a great way of actually breaking down the inhibitor turrets once Baron is gone. So I feel like Suning should realistically be able to at least buy a few more minutes until the next Baron. That time around, they should know that RNG are cheeky enough to go for that play. And just talking on that point, I love that this game has been a sequence of like RNG like looking at Suning saying, you don't think I'm dumb enough to do this? You don't think I'm crazy enough to do this? And then they do it, and that's how they found all their advantages. It is beautiful. I love it.
The strongest play is the play that your enemy doesn't expect. I can definitely see where RNG are coming from. And like you said, this is a really weird game because RNG are basically throwing composition and matchups out the window in favor of this wonky sort of topsy-turvy macro game that I honestly feel they kind of inherited from Uzi's era, but they just flipped it towards the top side. They said, we can do the same thing on the top side, and it really isn't about your comps. It's not really about you know, the laning matchups itself. We can forego that. We're just going to out-macro you.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's just about, hey, do we have champions that can push their lanes? And if they do that, right, they have the ability to make certain plays on the map.
But wait a minute, Wei is actually getting caught out right here. Flash being used by On. They are going to find him, but he has a Gore Drinker, so he's going to go back to over 50% HP. And that play, unfortunately, for the Blood Gods and our fans of the LPL is going to fizzle out. We will have to wait a couple more minutes until the big showdown finally appears.
I feel like the biggest thing for the side of RNG as well is the fact that Gala has an item advantage over Huangfeng. Even when we saw SofM go down in the bot side jungle, it was the fact that Gala was able to, you know, ult in and pretty much delete him instantly, having Kraken Slayer and the Collector enough to do that, and now having the Runon's Hurricane. So the fact, as long as Gala has this item advantage, you're always at least going to have the burst in pick potential onto singular members of Suning. Maybe not the 5v5, but you can always pick off 1 or 2 targets.
It's really interesting to mention right here, but on the side of Suning, there actually aren't a lot of targets that can take the full brunt of a rotation coming in from RNG. Even taking a look at Bin, he's kind of caught between separate items right here, going for the Phage, most likely going to go with the Steric's Gauge, and also the Spectre's Cowl at the same time, so he's not going to really have a completed tank item anytime soon. And like we were mentioning, the RNG burst damage is going to be effective. There really aren't any targets on Suning that can withstand that.
Now the big question is, Baron's going to come up soon. Do RNG go for it again, Clement? Do RNG Big Brain play us on go for it again?
I think they do. With this item advantage, I think they should be pretty comfortable in walking into this one. However, I like what they're doing. You know, Crying does have to teleport. He's going to be the one to be pushing out onto the bottom side of the map. And once again, it's about trading leverage for RNG. Trading priority for RNG. If they can get to the side lanes, if they can get the side lanes pushing fast enough, I think they can have an open window to just take this.
Yeah, and again, it just goes back to that philosophy we talked about earlier. RNG's game plan has pretty much been to, like, have the ability to push out all lanes, and if we do that, Suning have to react, you know, on the map, and we should be able to take control of, you know, some area on the map.
Engage coming in. Actually, Ming going in all the way. I didn't really expect that to be the case right there, but a great shockwave incoming from the likes of Xiaohu. He's going to find 2 targets. They're going to delete the opposition, and RNG are in the enemy base. This is a 5v3 situation. Wei still going in. Angel is doing work with those gravity fields, and I think he is going to be able to trade 1 back. Actually, he's going to get 2 for his trouble. And not only do Suning stop the bleeding, they also stop the potential Baron play incoming. Angel actually flashes in for 1 more on the Death Ray. Isn't able to find the pick just yet. However, this is a good time for respite on the side of Suning, and they likely are going to be having a couple more minutes to scale back up.
RNG need to get out of here. There's no way their composition's going to be able to dive inhibitor turrets with the champions they locked in. They find the initial picks. It looks great. Once again, push waves in, control one side of the enemy jungle. They all jump in. We see nice damage coming in from Gala and beautiful shockwave coming in from Xiaohu. The problem is when they keep running forward, it is like a 2v5 in this scenario, but you're up against an Aatrox and a Victor. We've talked about how good Suning's composition is at controlling space and zoning away the enemy. RNG were already low, they're all squishy, they just don't have a way to keep going forward. And we see RNG are feeding everything into Xiaohu, and it's been working so far.
It's going to be the Spring Tiger, and I think RNG are actually going to be starting up the Baron very soon. Instead, they find the catch onto On. I don't think On is getting away from this one. So once again, the door is wide open for RNG to hopefully take down this major objective. They are going to start it right away. With Angel still having his teleport, he's going to be looking at an angle to come into this fight. Huangfeng is stacking up on the crescendoms as well. They're going to go in, but they're a little bit too late. RNG already have the big purple worm down, and they're going to chase in, try to look for more. We see the ultimate being used here by Rise, but Ming looks like he didn't get the memo. Goes in 1v4, goes down. Wei still trying to find something, but Angel and Huangfeng are still at very comfortable HP bars at this point. I don't think they can chase this.
So we see now how the compositions would have worked out if this game was on an even and neutral setting where realistically RNG can't run into Suning's comp. They should not be able to do that. They've been able to do that because of how far ahead they've gotten, but they try. Like you said, Ming doesn't get the memo. He gets picked off, but still the fact that RNG get this Baron is going to be massive. They can keep playing out this macro strategy that you've talked about, but SofM might be caught out.
Yep, a good taunt from On to stop the bleeding onto SofM. He takes the damage instead, and they're able to walk past the river. That was a pretty interesting fight. On the middle right there, it did look like Crying was trying to use his ultimate, but nobody was getting on board, and Ming was the sacrificial lamb. So a little bit of miscommunication on that one. Still, RNG are going to walk away with the 7k gold lead now and the Baron buff. But like we were talking about this entire game, it's all about closing. It is all about closing. A lot of RNG members are short range, and it's going to be fairly difficult to crack into that base. They don't really have tanks that can tank up the tower either, so it's going to have to be a pretty brutal force down or a great wombo combo if they want to take Suning's high ground.
And the thing is, we see that Angel's about to pick up his Rabadon's death cap, you know, at some point in the future, you would assume, so he's already a victor, has a ton of wave clear, gonna have a ton more AP. Not gonna be easy sieging these turrets. We've already seen RNG at no point in this game should be at a stage where they can really dive Suning's inhibitor turrets, so it's still just about pulling the side of Suning around the map, or delaying long enough for Elder and burning that one down like you've burned Baron, but at that point, Suning should definitely be at a point of power.
It seems like RNG, like you were talking about, if they want to wait for the Elder Drake, that is still 2 dragons away if they take all of their Drakes. So realistically, that's going to be 11 minutes plus 2, about 13 minutes away, and that should be enough time for Suning to start something. In fact, they are going in just right now. Victor is the one that does a lot of damage, but wait a minute, Xiaohu with a massive shockwave gets the entire team across from Suning, and that evaporates their main wave clear tool in the likes of Angel. That is going to crack the base open. They don't have to worry about the tower tanking them down. Instant teleport on the side coming in from Xiaohu. Just a great play and a great wombo combo that we were talking about.
Death timers are long, Clement. RNG could potentially go for the end here. They definitely have the burst damage that we talked about. A lot of members are still healthy. Wei, the only one low.
SofM does retreat for that one just fine, and Wei is going down to about 30% HP. They still have 4 members taking down this tower. So far, Huangfeng hasn't been able to get much damage in. His front line is still not alive, and looks like RNG are going to walk away very satisfied with the 2 inhibitor towers that they get. You know, I feel like this is such a slow burner of a game, but more and more RNG and Xiaohu specifically are showing up that they could definitely find those opportunities and close the deal.
I just love that in 2021, we are getting a 2019 Suning/Victory 5-esque team. Xiaohu and Cryan might not be changing lanes, but we're getting the double mid lane champions. And it's always fun to like add personality and flair to certain, you know, teams and have a very set identity. It's cool that now we've seen Xiaohu on 3 very different champions, Camille, Gragas, and now Orianna. So RNG at least showing they're going to be an extremely versatile team in 2021 spring.
And I love the fact that you pinpointed out at the very start of our segment that Xiaohu, you know, he's going to have a volatile lane, and RNG are never going to leave him alone. That's exactly what happened this time. So many 3v1s into the top lane, and right now if you look at the items, he's sitting at 4 completed items compared to 2.5 on the side of Bin. So Bin can realistically just be one-shot by RNG dumping their damage onto him. Not a lot of front lining from Suning at this point, and their towers are open. So RNG, it looks like, you know, maybe they could just use a priority, get the next Baron, get the next Drake, and maybe put Suning so far behind in gold that regardless of their composition, they can just walk through.
That's the thing, right? It's just all about items at this point. You look at Xiaohu. Xiaohu's on 4 items. Bin is on 2.5. Gala's been a whole item over Huangfeng this whole game. And remember, RNG left bot side alone. RNG didn't do anything bot. And Gala is still an item ahead just because of all the team advantage that RNG have accrued all around the map. So we're way past the point of like compositions and formations and how they play out. RNG have just been snowballing, and this is the one thing that is reminiscent of 2020 RNG. RNG was a team that would typically either snowball or bust. They were extremely good at finding early game gold advantages. They just weren't always too great at closing them out. So it goes back to the question you posed, can RNG close it out?
Well, it feels like they're going to attempt something right here as they do send 2 members into the midst of Suning, and they do actually, wait a minute, Xiaohu is the first one to go down. There is a GA onto the likes of Huangfeng, so he's going to still stay alive for quite a while in this one. Is Suning going to be able to turn this one around? Both of the solo laners down for RNG, and only Wei and Gala left, but Gala is on a sliver of HP right now, so it is going to be a 3-for-3 trade, and I'll be honest, that one seemed a little bit adventurous on the side of RNG. They actually just sent 2 carries into the midst of Suning's base.
We were just talking about in 2020, they didn't know how to close out with the gold lead, and you know, pretty much all of these members are still here, Wei really being the only fresh addition to the organization, so yeah, they still have that spirit of 2020 RNG, but hey, RNG at least are nothing but consistent. Baron comes up, that means they go.
Well, RNG are going to secure this one, but I get a sense that RNG members are kind of confused whether they want to take the portal offered by Crying or not. Sometimes it's a tank, sometimes it's an ambulance, but that time it was a hearse. So you always have to weigh your options in these team fights. It is getting a little bit messy, but at least they do get the GA away from the likes of Huangfeng. Only 2 members.
And like you said, it's a questionable choice whether you take Cryan's ultimate. Xiaohu sadly trusts his teammate, goes in, gets instantly deleted, and doesn't matter about the gold lead. It's a 4v5, and now it could come into the factor that your formation's better. Suning at least even out the kill trade, but hey, at least RNG are the ones who are able to pick up a Baron, but we've seen in these team fights, it's always a different member on RNG who's able to dish out the most damage. I guess that's what happens when you say, screw team comps, let's just draft 3 different hyper carries that any of them can step up in any fight and carry.
And RNG are going to go back to their same tricks. They're going to take control over this entire section of the jungle. They have secured that 3rd Drake without much opposition whatsoever. So just looking at it, the Dragon Soul is coming up, but I don't think Suning are actually too worried about that Dragon Soul. Sure, it does help with the kiting. It's actually pretty damn good on the likes of Orianna and even the likes of Rise, as they can kite away from the melee champions on Suning. But I don't think Suning are too worried. Probably still waiting for the Elder Drake to make their great comeback. And once again, it's all eyes onto Xiaohu. Can he actually find that perfect shockwave, potentially to knock open this base?
Yeah, I think we also need to keep our eyes on the other members of RNG on the map, because Cryan is in the bot side, isn't showing on the map yet, pushing out that wave, as Wei is mid, so Suning could just all in one side.
But they do miss the ultimate from Huangfeng, not able to find the Gravitum. Actually, RNG are the ones to still go in right here. They have a numbers disadvantage at the start of this fight, but we see Wei coming in. They're fighting underneath their tower, and I don't think they can actually find the kills. Gala actually goes into the backline, finds 2, does trade his life for it, but that is a potential chance for them to open up this game. Wait a minute, Xiaohu actually does go down in that one. Bin can't find the final shot, and Crying dies to the tower. This game is going to go on, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, and we see a TP coming out from Angel.
There is that extra move speed that Angel could potentially use, but he is going to decide and save his inhibitors instead. So a bit of a wasted TP right there. However, these fights are kind of questionable on how RNG wants to play this. You can definitely get a sense that RNG wants to end this before they eventually have to face some sort of a 5v5. They go in when they were in a 3v5 situation and only had the rest of their members either teleport or use their ultimates to get into the fight. And throughout all of that, they were still fighting underneath Suning's tower.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy comp as RNG's to close out. That's why we've just been so baffled with the composition pretty much this whole game. But we see Ming is the one who goes in. Wei isn't here. Wei hasn't started channeling his ultimate. We don't see Cryan in the fight until now. So Wei gonna get bursted out extremely low. Ming is already dead from engaging pretty prematurely. Gala tries to put the team fight on his back, but Suning's composition loves this. They love when you run into their champions, and sadly it ended up being a 4-for-4 in the end.
Angel's getting caught out right here. It is a 3v2 situation. They actually do zone out the retreating members of RNG, and Wei looks like he's about to go down. So Suning, it's been a long time, but they finally have a kill lead onto the board, at least in this specific fight. However, the members of RNG are still overwhelming on that situation. RNG are going to be able to take away the Cloud Soul, but that was kind of a close one for Suning to be able to claw back onto the map. They do have all 3 inhibitors right now, and I think RNG are going to once again probably take this pretty slow and set their targets on the inhibitors.
Look, Clemenchu, I have no analysis for you right now, but I have a gut feeling, I have an instinct that we are going to get the Elder in 5 minutes. Suning are going to win the one team fight that mattered, and we're going to realize for all of RNG's genius, it didn't matter at all.
Oh my god, I love that prediction. That would be the perfect LPL ending, honestly. I'm sorry, RNG fans, we don't want to bag on this, but of course they are going against a lot of the fundamentals of League of Legends in terms of comps, in terms of matchups. This is not what you typically see, and for now, we have to see it to believe it. That's going to be our line from both me and Lyric. Honestly, I kind of wish that RNG can make this work, because this is so revolutionary, it is so unexpected, and it's just a breath of fresh air when you've been watching standard League of Legends for a while.
I mean, today was a great day to re-debut as an LPL caster. We've had fun games all day. If you didn't see the first series, it was awesome. This series so far is starting off awesome as well. When we have all these great teams, it's kind of to be expected. But back in the game, we do see RNG just trying to play around vision control and vision denial in the top side of the map. Suning, of course, realized, hey, we win as a 5-man unit. We don't need to walk into them. Let's just keep catching waves mid close to our base and wait out the neutral objective we need to fight over. We don't need to fight over Baron. Baron actually doesn't matter. We only need to fight for that Elder buff, so we're going to continue to see Suning, I think, sit in their base until they need to come out, wait for RNG to come to them, and, you know, just kind of keep building up and getting your items.
Oh, we are seeing a 2-man game into the bot lane. You do find Crying and instantly delete him off of the map right there. It was a great use of the, I believe, actual flash on the side of Galio. So burning that one just to find the pick. Very well done on the side of Suning.
And, you know, we did just hear from our producer that no one in this game has Gathering Storm, which is actually kind of hilarious. No player took Gathering Storm this game. So, yeah, that was a lot of free potential stats lost.
I do think that we are going to be approaching the longest game of the split so far. It felt like it was 42 minutes. I might be not be remembering this correctly, but never mind. We are going to see a team fight. SofM going to go super low. Ignite still ticking on him. It does look like he will survive this, but Suning do have to chance a lot of things on trying to make sure this Baron doesn't go over too freely to RNG. In the meantime, they are going to start up this 4v5 Dragon. However, SofM is still very far away. Suning is going to try and play keep away. This might be the crucial team fight as we go in. Wei does stop the Baron from getting stolen by Suning, but that was a very sweaty moment coming in from the side of RNG.
I think Suning made the correct choice, so like we pointed out a few moments ago, Suning don't need to fight for this. RNG, like, Baron doesn't help them end the game. Baron might help them take the top inhibitor turret. It might even help them take the inhibitors, but at the end of the day, this is going to come down to a team fight, and Suning, I think, are the ones who dictate when this team fight should happen. It will either be when RNG are going for the game-ending push, or it will be at Elder Dragon. You're still just building up items. You still are behind in items compared to RNG. Look at Xiaohu. Xiaohu's on full build. Bin still is not there yet, so I think taking it slow is the correct route for Suning.
Definitely agree with you on that one. I do think that Suning probably prefer to fight around the Elder Dragon rather than their base towers, their Nexus towers, excuse me. So action will be forced around the 2-minute mark here, and RNG in the meantime are going to get a uncontested push into the top lane. Really good on their side for splitting up the map and just using that Baron buff, that speed up for the minions to create that illusion that Suning were safe. They're probably going to open up this entire base from this point. There's not any towers defending the likes of Suning now.
I think it's definitely the best choice for RNG. Take the inhibitors, wait out that Elder, and then use that pressure coming from the minions to just, you know, play that push and pull situation on the map for Suning. Hey, do you answer your minions and give us Elder, or do you lose your base and we play this? Ooh, Suning though.
RNG, I think they're just trying to use some zoning ultimates, make sure they get the triple inhibitor. It is up to Suning to actually start this one, and in they go. Huangfeng is actually in a very good position. He's not touched at all, but On is the first one to go down. Not enough damage actually being used, but questionable engage by Wei. Why is he going so deep? Never mind, he actually gets SofM. Wei, you are a goddamn genius. I'm so sorry. Comes back with 1000 HP and is able to walk out with the kill. So it's still a 5v3, and RNG are looking to put the finishing touches right there. Bin does go down into his GA. He just finished out coming out of the fountain. The tower's all down. Bin still does have a chance to go in. He actually flashes in. Huangfeng does find the kill onto Xiaohu, but it's still a 1v3. I think this is where the game is going to go down for the likes of Suning. They still can't defend, and RNG win a long, grueling macro game against